Greetings, family. Peace and love to you and yours. This is Guru, and thanks for visiting my channel. Family, this White House advisor says people should stop criticizing white males and white supremacists so much. That's right, you heard it right, and you've heard it here. Let's go straight to the story. No one is quite sure what Sebastian Gorka, pictured here, officially a deputy assistant to President or Donald Trump, actually does at the White House. This hasn't stopped him, however, from being a near constant presence in the media. Well, Wednesday, Gorka appeared on Breitbart News Daily, the radio show of his former employer. Gorka responded to criticism stemming from a previous media appearance on MSNBC, where he said, quote, "There's no such thing as a lone wolf," unquote, attack. The concept, according to Gorka, was, quote, "invented by the last administration to make Americans stupid," unquote. Well, they always like to blame President Obama and his administration. But in fact, President Obama and his administration did quite a few things right. So much more than this current administration. We still don't have a fully staffed White House because of the revolving door in and out of the White House. But I digress. The idea of a lone wolf attack, Gorka says, is a ruse to point blame away from Al-Qaeda and ISIS when, quote, "there has never been a serious attack or a serious plot that was unconnected from ISIS or Al-Qaeda," unquote. Well, critics were quick to point to the example of Timothy McVeigh, and there's others that we can bring up as well, who was not connected to ISIS or Al-Qaeda. And in fact, Timothy McVeigh in that situation killed 168 people when he bombed a federal building in Oklahoma City in 1995. On Wednesday, Gorka lashed out at New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman and her acolytes in the fake news media, who immediately have a conniption fit and brought up Tim McVeigh. He added that, quote, "white men and white supremacists are not the problem." Well, I disagree wholeheartedly, Gorka. He continues and says, it's this constant, quote, "oh, it's the white man, it's the white supremacist, that's the problem," unquote. No, it isn't, Maggie Haberman. Go to Sinjar, go to the Middle East, and tell me what the real problem is today. Go to Manchester. Gorka noted that the Oklahoma City bombing was 22 years ago, which is true. But since 9/11, right-wing extremists, almost always white men, and frequently white supremacists, have been far more deadly domestically than Muslim extremists. A study, in fact, found that in the first 13 and a half years after 9/11, Muslim extremists were responsible for 50 deaths in the United States. Meanwhile, right-wing extremists averaged 337 attacks per year in the decade after 9/11, causing a total of 254 fatalities. You can listen to the entire interview here. Well, actually, no. I'm going to only play a portion of this video so you can hear what this Gorka has to say. Since Trump's election, there has been a rash of attacks by white supremacists targeting various minority groups. When another top Trump advisor, Stephen Miller, recently promoted Trump's plan to drastically limit legal immigration, his arguments mirrored white supremacist rhetoric. You know, like Adolf Hitler, that kind of rhetoric. Nonetheless, they are a major issue in a lot of the world's problems today. That's right, the white male and white supremacists. So let's go to the audio and you'll hear exactly what he had to say.
Before I let you go, I know we've got a very short time with you this morning, but just before I let you go, I wanted to ask a little bit about this. There's a Times of Israel story that has come out based on one of your recent interviews on MSNBC, where you talk about lone wolf terrorism and the fact that this, you say that this phrase was invented by the previous administration to make Americans stupid. We're talking about radical Islamic terrorism here, and I evidence and you evidence in your book, and I evidence in my forthcoming book that the linkages and the networks are so very clear in all of this sort of stuff. The question I have for you is somewhat atypical. Why do you even have to point this stuff out?
Oh my gosh! Because just look at Twitter. Look at Maggie Haberman and her acolytes in the fake news media, who immediately have a conniption fit and say, "What about Oklahoma City? What about Oklahoma City?" A, that individual's not a jihadi. My comments were about jihadism post 7/11. Second, Timothy McVeigh had accomplice. Oh, and by the way, this is the one I love. That event was 22 years ago. Can you talk to me about the last 16 years of hundreds of thousands of people killed in the Middle East by jihadis? It's this constant, it's the white man, it's the white supremacist, that's the problem. No, it isn't, Maggie Haberman. Go to Sinjar. Go to the Middle East and tell me what the real problem is today. Go to Manchester.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was going to say, why don't you go to Yorkshire? Go to Paris, go to Molenbeek. We've seen over the last day, Molenbeek, there was this car chase, this guy saying that he had explosives in his car. This morning, we've seen what happened in the Parisian suburb with the 6 soldiers mowed down. And of course, the French and the authorities saying mental health is the problem here. Is mental health the problem here, Dr. Gorka?
There is the Brits have done some studies on the mental health issue, and there is a proportion of jihadis that have some kind of issue in the background. But no, just look at the biggest plots against us, whether it's 9/11, 7/7, whether it's San Bernardino, whether it's Boston, whether it's Fort Hood. Mental health has nothing to do with this. It's evil ideology and evil men, as it was with fascists, as it was with communists.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Deputy Assistant to the President of the United States. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning on Breitbart News Daily.
So you heard it from the horse's mouth. Now what's so sad about this is you heard it. He's a doctor. He referred to him as Dr. Gorka. And that's sad because this man has a very small, tiny, itty-bitty mind. Now he says that he asked him the question, do you think it has anything to do with mental health? And then after he went over his few little words that he had to say, he then ended with, no, it's not that. It's just plain evil. Well, number one, Dr. Gorka, you can't say that wholeheartedly and say that as a matter of fact. You don't have all the facts to say if these people are mentally deranged or not. They have to be mentally deranged to try to kill off so many people. As you claim, hundreds of thousands of people in the Middle East get killed. So you can't say that these people are sane and civilized, right? Exactly. You can't have it both ways. So these people are mentally deranged, just like most other people. But more than anything, I want to say something here. You want to point your finger away from the white man and away from white supremacists, when in fact, we owe you a lot of the responsibility. That's right. We owe you a lot of the responsibility. It's the hate that hate produced. You don't like what you see in the Middle East, but guess what? You've been in the Middle East and you've caused a lot of these issues. So when you say you don't like it, when people keep saying it's the white man and it's white supremacy, you started it. Own it. You just got owned. I'm done. Thanks a lot for watching, family. Peace and love to you and yours. Until the next video, we're going to get to the bottom line of all this rhetoric going around and all these people throwing up the words fake news, and we're going to expose these people. Peace out.